And those are the 4 advantages of criterion-referenced grading system, such as actionable feedback, focus on learning, fairness, and clarity.
These are the disadvantages of criterion-referenced grading system. The first one is lack of relative comparison. Another drawback is that rubrics do not account for variability in overall class performance. This means that while a rubric may provide a detailed assessment of individual work, it may not effectively reflect how students' performance compares to their peers, potentially leading to a skewed understanding of their relative achievement. The second one is time-consuming. Developing rubrics and detailed criteria can be labor-intensive. Creating a comprehensive rubric requires significant effort to ensure that all relevant aspects of an assignment are covered, which can be particularly burdensome for educators who already have numerous responsibilities. And the third one is the subjectivity. Finally, there is an inherent subjectivity in the interpretation of rubric criteria. Different evaluators may have varying interpretations of what constitutes a specific level of performance, which can lead to inconsistencies in grading. This subjectivity can undermine the objective natures that rubrics are intended to promote. The last one is complexity. Rubrics can become overwhelming, especially for complex tasks or performances. When assignments involve multiple components or require nuisance evaluation, the rubric may become too intricate, making it difficult for both instructors and students to navigate and understand the expectations learned.
I will show you on how to construct a criterion-referenced grading system. So now, I will show you the step-by-step process on how we will construct the analytical grading rubric. So, let's start. For example, you assign your grade 5 students to perform a dance group activity in your physical education subject. And so, you will use among the 4 types of the criterion-referenced grading system that will rate the performances of your students. So, for example, I am the teacher, I will choose the analytical grading rubric. First step, you will define the learning objectives that are expected by your students to know or perform. So take note, as a teacher, you should provide them first the minimum or maximum time allotment for each group that they will be performing their dances. For example, in a 2-minute dance performance, your students should be able to demonstrate the rhythm, coordination, and creativity. In the second step, you will identify the criteria. So in this part, as a teacher, you will break down the learning objectives into a measurable components. So for example, in this table I created, you can see that in the first column, I write the measurable criteria that will rate your students' performances according to the rhythm, coordination, creativity, and stage presence that they have shown or demonstrated during the performance. Third step, determine the performance levels of proficiency for each criterion. For example, here is it. I use excellent, good, and need improvement as a determinant of each group performance level of proficiency. So, in the fourth step, you will write or give the descriptions in each performance level. So, I will show you that based in the table I created. These are the performance standards or the descriptions in each performance level that I have written. So, for example, in the excellent part, I gave a consistency, maintains rhythm with no visible mistakes. So, that is what I indicated in the excellent level, and which is under the criterion of rhythm. So, in the fifth step, you will allocate the points in each levels. So, for example, in the excellent level, I write or put a 20 points for the group who perform with excellence or proficiency in each criterion. Next, for the good level, the students presented that is indicated along with a good level, they will gain a 15 points. If there are some areas that have been done with mistakes or few mistakes. And then, for the last level, which is needs improvement, this group will gain 10 points if there are numerous mistakes they have committed in each criterion. So, this is the final output that we have constructed. This is an example of the analytical grading rubric. So, this is the one you will use to grade your students' performances. And after you give points to your students, you will tally their scores. And then, after you tally their scores, you will be basing or categorizing the total grade that each group had obtained. So first, if the group obtained the total scores of 72 to 80, they are specified or categorized in the outstanding level. So next, if the group obtained the scores or the final grade of 65 to 71, the students or the group belong to the proficient level. And then if the group obtained the scores or the total grade of 64 and below, so this group needs further improvement. And after categorizing the scores of each group, you'll share the scores they have obtained. So after sharing their scores, you'll give feedback on each group on what areas that they need to improve and what areas that they have performed with excellence or has their strengths.
In this video, we will show you an example scenario of how the Criterion-Referenced grading system is used for grading. As the scenario. Teacher Howitt and a PE subject conducted a dance performance group activity with her grade 5 students. She will use the analytical grading rubrics she constructed earlier to grade their performances. The students are divided into two groups, with Group 1 and Group 2 showcasing their performances. This performance will serve as the basis for Teacher Howitt grading, according to the given criteria, which is the rhythm, coordination, creativity, and stage presence. Now, let's see the performances of Group 1 and Group 2.
Cadê as popozuras fazendo o quadradinho? Desce até o chão, esse é o bonde do Brunão. Desce até o chão, esse é o bonde do Brunão. All you gotta do is just meet me at the
Jing ceripit tulang bajing kacapit ku bulu pare sesegit na jing ceripit tulang bajing.
Based on the performances of the two groups, Teacher Howitt will grade the students' mastery of their skill according to the criteria. Lastly, Teacher Howitt will provide feedback to each group based on the total score, highlighting their strengths and weaknesses. Based on the scoring criteria, Teacher Howitt gave an overall total score of 70 points to Group 1, which falls under the proficiency level. Group 1 shows sufficient stage presence and creativity. However, they still need a bit of improvement in terms of staying in bed with the music and coordinating their movements. Group 2 received a score of 65. Which also falls under the proficiency level. They demonstrate adequate creativity and stage presence. However, they lack rhythm and need further improvement in terms of movement coordination. Overall, both groups show proficiency, meaning they were able to demonstrate most of the required standards. The Criterion-Referenced grading system is a student-centered approach that evaluates performance based on predetermined criteria or learning objectives. Unlike norm reference systems that compare students to each other, this system focuses on mastering specific skills or knowledge. By establishing clear standards, it promotes fairness, transparency, and a focus on individual achievement rather than competition. This system can take various forms, including holistic, analytic, standard-based, or mastery grading, and uses tools like rubrics, checklists, point systems, and portfolios to assess performance. While this approach has clear advantages such as clarity of expectations, actionable feedback, and emphasis on learning, it can also be time-intensive to implement and may involve subjective interpretations of criteria. However, these challenges can be addressed through careful planning, standardized tools, and regular refinement of grading methods. Overall, the Criterion-Referenced grading system is a valuable tool for educators, fostering a growth-oriented learning environment where students are assessed against defined standards, ensuring fairness and helping them focus on mastering skills essential for their development. And that's all for our documentation video for today. Thank you, and I hope that you have learned something from our video.